Cassandra's POV ping. A message came through on my husband's phone. Hey baby. Hope this gets you nice and hard. Can't wait to see you tonight. Meet at my new place? 1215 Sherbrooke Drive. XOXO what? The message was quickly followed by a picture. It was a woman in a skimpy red lace bra. The bra was so sheer you could see her nipples. She had red lipstick, her face in a sexy pout. I recognized the woman. It was Ellie. My husband's first love. But how was this possible? Ellie had been in a horrific car accident many years ago. A head-on collision with a semi-truck. She'd been lucky to survive, but the accident had left her in a coma. She was a vegetable, kept alive by machines, unable to talk or move. Jordan had been devastated. His heart belonged to Ellie, she was his first love. His only love. He had visited her for a long time after the accident, even though she couldn't communicate. I'd known how much he loved Ellie, but I thought that after several years of marriage, he'd grow to love me too. This text message, however, suggested otherwise. Her new place. Something about this told me it wasn't the first time. How long had Ellie been out of the hospital? And more importantly, how long had Jordan been seeing her? A wave of nausea washed over me. My heart raced. I felt dizzy. I stared at the erotic picture of Ellie, speechless. But then I heard Jordan coming out of the bathroom. I quickly tossed the phone onto the bedside stand. He was wrapped in a towel, bare-chested, and freshly showered. He didn't even glance at me, he just went straight for his phone. He saw the message, ran his hands through his hair, and smiled. Then he went to his wardrobe and threw on some clothes. Where are you going? I asked, innocently. I knew damned well where he was going. But he didn't know that I knew. He turned, exasperated. None of your business, Cassandra. When will you be home? I did my best to sound nonchalant. Never mind. He shook his head. God. You're so controlling. Just back off, will you? Without another word, he left the bedroom, slamming the door behind him. I clenched my fists. I sat alone in the bedroom, thinking about our marriage. I recalled why we'd been married in the first place. I'd helped Jordan's grandfather while I was still in college. That's actually how I'd met Jordan. It was love at first sight for me. He was so handsome, so smart, so sexy. But I quickly found out that he was in love in someone else. So I figured my feelings would never be reciprocated. And I was just about to drop it and force myself to move on, when Jordan suddenly had a change of heart. Out of the blue it seemed, he wanted to marry me. Me. I'd been over the moon. Our wedding day had been picture perfect. I was the happiest girl in the world. Until it became clear pretty early on in the marriage that Jordan hadn't married me for love. For him it was just a marriage of convenience. He needed a wife to look after him, so that's what I did. He became even more distant, though. Cold even. He was gone a lot. Always working late. Plus his mother hated me, so that didn't help. Still, though, I brushed it off and tried to be the perfect housewife. Why? I was naive. I thought that if was perfect, maybe he'd grow to love me. If I doted on him, took good care of him, made all his meals, kept a nice, clean home, maybe I'd earn his respect. It hadn't worked. He became even more absent. His mother became even more venomous. I became miserable. So, I suggested a divorce. Several times. I was serious. Why stay in an unhappy marriage? But he was dismissive. He scoffed at me, said I was being overly dramatic. Unreasonable. Ridiculous. Then he tossed more money at me, to placate me. It was never about the money, though. I didn't want his money. I only wanted the one thing he was never going to give me. His love. The image of Ellie, in her red, lacy bra, flashed through my mind. This was the last straw. He was cheating on me. With his first love. This was unforgivable. I had to confront him. I had to confront both of them. I drove to the address from the text message. Ellie answered the door, surprised to see me. Cassandra. She asked innocently. How lovely to see you. She reached out to embrace me, but I waved her off. Stop pretending, I told her. I know what you and Jordan have been doing. She blinked rapidly a few times. Then her expression changed. Her lips curled up into a sly smile. Is that so? She cooed. Well, you're not surprised, are you? I mean, when was the last time you and Jordan made love? From what I understand, he never even touches you anymore. It's me he wants. She leaned in and whispered in my ear, taunting me. It's always been me. I was angry, but I held it in. I wasn't going to let her see me get upset. She didn't deserve the satisfaction of knowing that she'd hurt me. That they both had. How long? I asked. How long has this been going on? I wanted all the facts so I could make an informed decision. I did my best to remain calm, but my mind whirled. He's a man, Ellie said. He has needs. Sexual needs. Needs you can't satisfy. Her tone was mocking and sarcastic. I held in my anger. She continued. He never loved you. He never will. You're a nuisance to him. A nag. Always meddling in his affairs. I didn't respond. Her words cut deep. I had tried, many times, to be intimate with Jordan. I craved intimacy with him. But he'd always held me at arm's length. Even when we were making love, he was still distant. Ellie, I was thinking Chinese for dinner. How does that? It was Jordan. He emerged from her bedroom, his shirt off. Jordan? He asked, clearly surprised to see me. He took one look at me and his face contorted into a look of shock. What are you doing here? He asked, his voice low. Cut the crap, I said. I know everything. He nodded. I searched his face for guilt. But there was none. I knew what I had to do. You have two choices, either you come home with me, immediately. I paused for effect. Or? He asked, his hands on his hips. Or we get a divorce. My breath hitched. Deep down, I wanted him to come home. If we could sit down and talk about this, maybe, just maybe, we could work this out. I mean, I loved him. I really did. I was angry, yes. And hurt. But he was my husband. We could go to counseling. Try harder? He interrupted my thoughts, though. And his next words shattered me. Enough, he scoffed. Really, Cassandra? You're so childish. Childish. And then it hit me, he was never going to change. He was a condescending, arrogant, belittling asshole. At least, that's how I felt in the moment. He had ignored me for years. I'd been so stupid. So naive. Well, not anymore. This marriage was over. I slid my wedding ring off my finger and forced it into his hand. Take this ring. I don't want it. Cassandra, he scoffed, rolling his eyes. Don't talk to me, I seethed. Just wait for the divorce papers. Cassandra's POV clink. I heard the ring drop to the ground as I turned and walked away. I hopped into my car and pulled away, without even so much as a glance back. He wanted to cheat on me? Fine. He could have sex with whomever he wanted. I was done. I'd call Cameron to come and pick me up, and I'd go home. Back to the estate. Back where I belonged. I rolled down the windows and cranked up the radio. Relief flooded through me. I felt like a weight had been lifted, a Jordan-sized weight. The wind blew through my hair and I felt free, really free. Back at the apartment, I hauled out my suitcases and a few things. I didn't need to take everything, I could replace most of my clothes. Then I called my brother. Hey, Cameron. It's me. Come pick me up. I finally left Jordan. Say no more. I'm on my way. I waited for my brother in the foyer. He pulled up in a hot, red Lamborghini. He got out and rushed towards me, scooping me up into a crushing bear hug. I can't breathe, I mumbled into his shirt. He released me and laughed. Is this it? He asked, grabbing my suitcases. I took one last look at the house, and nodded. Yep. This is it. So, Cassandra, Cameron said as we ripped through the street. Are you finally ready to take over Stoneworth Enterprises? Nah, I chuckled. I know the family business is very successful, but I'd like to focus on my own business, Hothouse Flower, for a while. I don't blame you. He flashed me a smile. Your company has done really well. Mom and Dad are proud of you, you know. They are. I wasn't sure. The expectations were high in our family as far as business went. Our family company was one of the most successful and popular companies on the East Coast. I'd been nervous to start my own company, since it was assumed I'd take over the family business. Fashion had always been my passion though. And I wanted to follow my heart. So I ditched out a small fashion company. Before long, though, it was highly successful. In fact, Hot House Flower was now a widely worn brand. Celebrities, influencers, and socialites all wore my designs. I'd been neglecting my business for a while though, to focus on my marriage. It was time to get back to work. I was happy to hear that my parents were proud of me. I had big plans for my company, and their support meant the world to me. And speaking of the parents, Cameron said, they're off sailing the Mediterranean on their annual holiday. So we have the whole estate to ourselves. Wonderful, I smiled. I hadn't been home in a while. I was looking forward to being home again. We rode in silence for a bit. I watched the scenery fly by. Okay, I have to ask, Cameron said, interrupting my thoughts. What made you finally decide to take the plunge? He side-eyed me as he drove. You mean to leave Jordan? He nodded. I don't love him anymore, I lied. I still love Jordan because love doesn't just disappear overnight. But it was complicated. I was heartbroken. He was cheating on me and I simply couldn't tolerate that. I didn't want to get into it though with Cameron. So I kept my answers short and simple. Cameron could sense that I didn't want to talk about it. He reached over and squeezed my hand. Well, I'm happy you finally came to your senses. My family hadn't approved of Jordan, and they made it very clear. But I'd been head over heels for him, so I dismissed their concerns. I was young. And stubborn. And I thought I knew better than them. Oh, how wrong I'd been. We pulled up to the gate then. Jordan clicked the opener and the gate swung open. Welcome home, Cassandra, he said. It was just as I remembered it. A gorgeous mansion on a sprawling 10-acre estate. Tennis courts, horse stables, rose gardens, a swimming pool, you name, the Stoneworth estate had it. Our butler, Mr. Toth, met us in the driveway. Miss Cassandra, he said, bowing his head. What a pleasure to have you home. The pleasure is all mine, I replied. He took our things and Cameron linked his arm to mine. What should we do first? He asked. Martinis and charcuterie by the pool? Or a stroll through the garden? We just renovated the theater room. We could chill and watch NX. That all sounds great, I said as we walked into the foyer. But I want to take care of this divorce, first. Can you call Dylan? I'd like to get started on the divorce papers. Dylan was Cameron's best friend, and a hotshot divorce lawyer. I already did, Cameron winked. He'll be coming by soon. That's Cameron for you, always 2 steps ahead. It was dusk, so we chose a lovely Cabernet and sat on the deck overlooking the grounds. I could smell the sweet scent of roses in the air. God, it felt good to be home. To have maids and private chefs again. To be waited on hand and foot. Don't get me wrong, I worked my ass off when I came to my company. But here, at the estate, I didn't have to do laundry or wash dishes. There were a lot of benefits to being filthy rich. I clinked glasses with Cameron. To new beginnings, he winked at me. To home, I smiled back. Not even half an hour later, Dylan pulled in. He climbed out of his yellow Porsche. He looked handsome, tan skin, blue polo shirt and beige khakis. Cassandra. He smiled, waving up at us. What am I, chopped liver? Cameron scoffed in good humor. I see you all the time. I haven't seen Cassandra in ages, Dylan smirked. Come on up, Dylan, I called down to him. We'll pour you a glass of wine. Are those the divorce papers? He was clutching a brown leather briefcase. You bet, he smiled. Cameron and I have been waiting for this day for a long time, Cass. It's about time you dumped that sleaze. I drew up the preliminary papers months ago. I chuckled. Months ago? Apparently, everyone had been waiting for me to divorce Jordan. So it's pretty straightforward, I said to Dylan once we were all settled in the study. I don't want anything from Jordan. Not even a penny. I had a feeling you'd say that, Dylan remarked, sipping his wine. I think you'll be very pleased with the papers I've drafted. I looked over the papers. Everything looks great, I said. Except for one thing. What's that? I'd like to add a clause in the agreement. I will pay Jordan $10. That's his entire compensation from this marriage. Cameron and Dylan raised their eyebrows. $10? Dylan asked. Yep, I confirmed. That's all that asshole is worth. 10. Measly. Dollars. Jordan's POV. The ring clattered to the ground. I stared at it for a beat, then I bent down to scoop it up. She was playing games again, Cassandra. I casually slid the ring back into my pocket. Divorce. Yeah, right. How many times had she mentioned divorce? 5. 8. 14. I'd lost count. It was a ploy. Something Cassandra did when she wanted more attention. It was a childish scheme and I was tired of it. Which is why I didn't take her threats seriously. I knew Cassandra. She didn't mean it. Are you okay? Ellie asked, her eyes flooded with concern. Just a bit rattled, I told her. I didn't know Cassandra knew about us. I was shocked to see her. Me too, she said, sidling up to me. I inhaled her perfume. Vanilla and rosewood, the same perfume she'd worn before the accident. I loved it. I haven't done anything wrong, have I? She asked with a pout. Damn, she was so cute when she pouted like that. I ran my thumb along her lower lip. Of course not, I told her. You're perfect. She smiled coyly at me. Does it bother you? That she wants a divorce? Ellie asked. I shook my head. Is this a jealousy thing? Because if it is, drop me. You have nothing to worry about. I love you. Not her. I always have and I always will. She snuggled her head into my shoulder and I stroked her hair. She began nipping at my neck with sexy little kisses. I was distracted though. I thought back to the start of our marriage. Ellie was in a coma. I sat by her side every day, waiting for her to wake up. She was the one I wanted to marry, and I vowed to wait for her, no matter how long it took. My grandfather, though, had other plans. He demanded I marry Cassandra. I had no idea why. I knew they'd met and she'd been helping him with something, but I didn't know what it was. Clearly, Cassandra had won him over somehow. Which was not easy to do. And now he was ordering me to marry her. I hadn't wanted to. I didn't love Cassandra. I barely knew her. I loved Ellie. But my grandfather started threatening me. He said I wouldn't inherit the family business unless I married Cassandra. Ellie was still in a coma. The doctors said it didn't look good, that she might not ever wake up. What was I supposed to do? I couldn't risk losing my inheritance. And what if Ellie never woke up? So, I'd married Cassandra. It wasn't a miserable marriage. Cassandra tried hard, I'd give her that. She just wasn't the right wife for me, so we struggled. She brought up divorce a few times. It wasn't really an option though. My grandfather would be super pissed if we got divorced. Plus, I knew she didn't mean it. 1 month ago, though, everything changed. I received a surprising phone call. Ellie had woken up. And I quickly learned that Cassandra was involved in Ellie's car accident. Or at least, she might have been. I still didn't have any proof. It was hard to live with Cassandra after that. The thought of her harming Ellie flooded my thoughts. I became even colder and more distant. I didn't mean for Cassandra to find out about me and Ellie. Not yet. But since she had. Let's take this to the bedroom, I said to Ellie. She happily agreed. The next day at work, I was chugging coffee. Ellie and I had been in bed all night but we hadn't got much sleep, if you know what I mean, when a package arrived at my office. I tore it open only to find divorce papers? Seriously? Cassandra had gone through with drawing up divorce papers? But she'd only left last night. This all seemed awfully quick. I sighed. I didn't have time for this bullshit, so I tossed the papers aside and focused on my work. The envelope stared at me all day though, and by the end of the day, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to read it, only to see what kind of game Cassandra was playing. That's when I got to the part about the settlement. $10? What the? I grabbed my phone and angrily called Cassandra. She picked up. $10? How dare you insult me like this? I spewed into the phone. Your actions have been equally insulting. Even more so, I'd say, she said calmly. That made my blood boil. You want to talk about insulting actions? I said, clenching my fist. Why don't you tell me what really happened with Ellie's car accident? She was silent for a beat before she said, What are you talking about? I wasn't going to let her get away with this, though. She couldn't play innocent anymore. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You knew I loved Ellie. And you destroyed my life with her. I honestly don't know what you're talking about. And before I could respond, there was a male voice on the line. Who the hell is this? I asked, confused. Who was Cassandra with? Another man? He threatened me in a calm, stern voice. Like I gave a fuck. I didn't even know who he was. Click. He hung up on me. So I called back. But to my disbelief, all I got was a pre-recorded message saying, The number you are calling is no longer in service. I slammed down my phone. I was confused. What was Cassandra trying to accomplish? What was her end game here? Who was she with? Had she been involved in the car accident? These questions spun in my head. But I didn't have time for these games. I had a company to run. So I pushed the questions out of my head. Besides, I knew it was only a matter of time before Cassandra regretted this whole thing. She'd be so sorry she even so much as uttered the word divorce. Cassandra's POV. Thanks, Dylan, I sighed. Never mind, ready to enjoy your traveling? Dylan smiled and winked at me. Yeah, but I gotta call Stella first. I took the calling card out and threw it in the bin and got a new one. I then called Stella on FaceTime. I'll be gone for about a month, I told Stella. Stella was my best friend, one of the only people I'd been able to count on through everything. I trusted her with my life, so it only made sense that I trusted her with my company. Then I gave her the rundown on all the business affairs of Hothouse Flower. I'd only be gone a month, so I only told her what she needed to know. Stella had a degree in fashion, just like me. Although my degree was in design and hers was in fashion marketing. But still, I knew she was the right person to look after my company while I traveled to clear my head. Don't worry, Cass, I got you, she told me, giving me a flying kiss. Just go and heal. And when you get back, we'll celebrate you dumping his sorry ass. I smiled at her and waved bye-bye. I was lucky to have her and I hope she knew it. A month later, I came back to the Stoneworth estate, tanned and feeling refreshed. The month away had been good for my soul and spirit. A month on the French Riviera tended to do that. During my vacation, I checked in with Syracuse a few times and ran a few meetings online. But I'd been sitting at a cafe, with the glorious Mediterranean spread out before me, sipping on the very best French wines. So the meetings hadn't been a bother at all. Besides, I loved my job, so I didn't mind the occasional meeting. I didn't hear a single word from Jordan the whole time I was gone. Not even a peep. It was fabulous. It allowed me to fully unwind and reflect on our marriage. Sister, Cameron exclaimed, as I dumped my bags on the curb. You look positively radiant. We air-kissed. Thank you. I feel wonderful, I said. He scooped up my bags and put them in the trunk, and thanks for picking me up from the airport. Of course, he said. Then he eyed me up and down again. You know, sis, the French Riviera suits you. Look at that tan. Maybe you should move there. What? And leave you? Never, I smiled, as I climbed into the car. We took off from the airport. So Mom and Dad are home? I asked. Cameron had told me they'd arrived back at the Stoneworth estate a couple days ago. Yup, he said, taking an unfamiliar exit off the freeway. Where are you going? I asked. I'm taking you for dinner. Mom and Dad will be all over you when you get home. I want some alone time with you first. So you can tell me all about your escapades. I beamed. That's very selfish of you, I told him. In the sweetest sort of way. We pulled into the parking lot of a lavish restaurant. It's new, Cameron said. It's a raw restaurant. A what? I asked, as Cameron handed the valet his keys. It's a new trend. All the food is raw. Nothing's cooked. I think it will be a hoot. Ooh, Kai, I said hesitantly. Leave it to Cameron to find the most bizarre new restaurant in the city. We were led straight to our table. I need to freshen up, I told him. It had been a long flight, and Cam was right, this restaurant was very trendy. I didn't want to run into someone we knew with smeared mascara and messy hair. I thought we were going straight home, so I hadn't checked my makeup. But now, let's just say those bright, neon lights overhead weren't very forgiving. Order me a drink? I told him. Merlot? He asked. You know it, I winked. Then I dashed off to the bathroom. On the way to the bathroom, though, I saw Jordan. He was sitting alone, hunched over the bar, a whiskey neat in hand. He had dark circles under his eyes. It looked like he hadn't slept in days. I stopped dead in my tracks. He looked rough. Like, really rough. He glanced over at me. I quickly turned away, hoping he hadn't seen me. I walked towards the bathroom, and cautioned a quick look before I went in. He was looking in my direction, his eyes narrowed. But then he got up from the bar and left, headed towards the door. My heart hammered in my chest. He hadn't recognized me. I couldn't blame him. I looked nothing like I had during our marriage. During our marriage, I'd been very conservative. Whenever I accompanied him to a function, I chose plain, understated dresses. I never wore anything flashy. Blend in was my mantra. But now, I was wearing a bright blue chiffon skirt with an orange designer blouse. My designer blouse from my designer fashion company. I had jewelry, shiny, beautiful bracelets and earrings. My hair had auburn low lights and it was shorter and curled. I was even wearing high heels, something I never did when we were married. Of course he hadn't recognized me. I barely recognized myself. In the bathroom, I reapplied my red lipstick, also something I never wore when we were married. Surprisingly, that was about all I needed. So I left the bathroom, but on my way out, I accidentally bumped into someone. Sorry, I said, looking up at the woman. Then my heart stopped. Ellie. It was Ellie. I put my head down and tried to step around her. I didn't want to cause a scene. I hoped that, like Jordan, she wouldn't recognize me. This time, though, I wasn't so lucky. Cassandra, Ellie gasped. And only then did I realize we were wearing the exact same outfit. What the hell? She asked, her hands on her hips. Where did you get this? She pointed at my blouse. Did you steal it? Because there's no way you could afford anything from Hot House Flowers. Let alone an entire outfit. Of course, Ellie didn't know that I owned Hot House Flowers. It was a secret I'd kept for years. And I wasn't about to let Ellie in on the secret now. So I just stood there while she mocked me. Oh, I get it, she smiled sardonically. You're a kept woman now, huh? Found yourself a silver fox? Is that it? A rich, lonely old man to buy you designer clothes. I sighed deeply. I really didn't want to get into this with her. I was tired. I just wanted to have a nice dinner with my brother. She could think whatever she wanted. I honestly didn't care. It's none of your business, Ellie, I said. Then I pushed past her. I motioned for my brother to follow me as I made a beeline out of the restaurant. Get the keys from the valet, I instructed. Cassandra, what's wrong? Is it the raw food? Cameron asked, confused at our abrupt departure. No, I said. I'll explain in the car. Let's just get out of here. We grabbed the keys and headed for the parkade. But just as I put my hand on the car door handle, a voice called out to me. Cassandra. The voice echoed through the parkade. It belonged to Jordan. Cassandra's POV. Come on, Cameron said, tugging my hand. We saw Jordan's figure approaching us. He just have followed us into the parkade. Can you just go ahead without me? To the car. I won't be long, I promise. Cameron studied my face. He was wary to leave me alone with Jordan. But I wanted to handle this situation on my own. He finally relented. Okay. But not too long. And I'll be right over there if you need me. I know, I smiled. Cameron walked away just as Jordan approached. The parkade was well lit, and the harsh fluorescent light shone down on Jordan's distraught face. Look, we need to talk, he said. I agree. I assume you've had your lawyer look over the divorce papers, I said. I know you cheated on me. What? He just ignored my comment and went straight to his own accusations. This was so typical. Excuse me? I said, aghast. Don't even try to hide it, he told me, his voice firm. I blinked, staring at him in disbelief. He was the one who cheated, not me. With the first love of his life, nonetheless. And now he had the audacity to stand here, in this parkade, and accuse me of being unfaithful. He stared at me with a hard look. I realized there was no point in trying to defend myself. No matter what I said, he wouldn't believe me. So instead I sighed deeply. I wanted him out of my life. Whatever, I said. Just sign the divorce papers so we can both be done with this. Then I turned to leave. But as I did, he reached out and grabbed my arm, roughly. I whipped back towards him. Let go, I said sternly. He tightened his grip. Don't walk away, he said, his voice earnest. There are things we need to sort out. There's nothing to sort out, I told him. It's over. Sign the papers. And let me go. He wouldn't though. He kept a firm hold on my arm. So I stomped on his foot. The heel of my pumps dug right into the pressure point on the top of his foot. He cried out in pain, letting go of my arm. The sound alerted Cameron. You okay? He yelled down the parkade. Yes, I yelled back. I have to go. Trust me, you don't want my brother here. To say he despises you is an understatement. There's no knowing what he'll do if he sees you holding me like this against my will. It was true. Cameron had been holding back his distaste for Jordan for a long time, out of respect for me since we were married. But now, Cameron had no reason to hold back anymore. Seriously, Cassandra? Jordan asked, turning to me. It doesn't have to be like this. You make everything so goddamn difficult. Me? I said. I make things difficult? You're the one who screwed up our marriage. Jordan stammered. I'm leaving now, I said firmly. Don't follow me, or I'll call the police. I turned and walked back to the car. We drove back to Stoneworth Estate in silence. I rested my head on the window and watched the lights blur past. How had it come to this? My heart felt heavy. I thought back to my wedding day. I'd been so happy. I never believed, in a million years, that one day, I'd be sitting here, on the brink of divorce. I tried everything. I really did. I treated him so well, bent over backwards for him, catering to his every need and whim. Why couldn't he love me? I was a good wife. But no matter what I did, he just couldn't warm up to me. We approached the gates of the estate. I'd done everything I could, and still. This was the outcome. Divorce. You okay? Cameron asked as we entered the roundabout in front of our house. Yes. No, I confessed with a weak smile. Cameron parked the car and nodded. He never appreciated you, Cassandra. He never saw your worth. You're better off without him, he comforted me. I know. I really do. At least, my head knows that. It's just gonna take some time for my heart to catch up, I guess. I woke up the next day feeling a bit better. Cameron was right, I was better off without him. I got dressed and met up with Stella for brunch. It was our favorite spot. We'd whiled away more mornings here nibbling on bagels and lox and sipping mimosas than I could count. She was already waiting for me as I entered. She stood and we air-kissed cheek to cheek. Love the dress, I told her. Chanel, Dior, she shook her head. It's new. Thanks. And you look smoking hot, as always, she smiled. We sat down. Hope you don't mind, but I already ordered. Our usual, she told me. Amazing, I said. And I was just about to launch into the events of last night, when my phone pinged. I glanced at it. It was a work email. I opened it and skimmed it. What is it? Stella asked, tucking her jet black, shiny hair behind her ears. Looks like we've just been invited to the Talks and TS banquet. Whoa, Stella said. The Talks and TS banquet was an annual business banquet famous for its elaborate appetizers, TS, and the enormous networking potential, Talks. It was very exclusive, invite-only, and as such, it attracted some of the most powerful, most successful CEOs around. Being invited was an honor, one that had never previously been bestowed onto me. Crazy, right? I asked, staring at the invite in disbelief. The waiter appeared with 2 champagne flutes of mimosas. No, it's not crazy at all, Stella smiled, lifting her glass. We earned this. We've worked hard. We started Hot House Flower with basically nothing. Built it from the ground up. We deserve to be at that banquet just as much as everyone else. It's a great opportunity, I admitted. We could find a lot of potential business connections. Maybe even some partners. Right. It's just that. Stella's voice trailed off. What? I asked. Isn't the event sponsored by you-know-whose company? Jordan. Yes. Yes, it was. I sighed and took a long swig of my champagne. Chances are we'll run into him, Stella pointed out. Yes, but I'll also run into a lot of bigwig power players who could really help out business. True, she agreed. When it is? I read off the date. No, she whined. That's my mom's surprise birthday party. I can't miss it. I'm so sorry, Cass, but you'll have to do this alone. If you decide to go. It was an enormous opportunity, even if I'd probably run into Jordan. So what do you think? Stella smiled slyly. Do you walk into the lion's den willingly and take advantage of the invite? Or do you politely pass? To go or not to go, that is the question. Cassandra's POV. I eyed myself critically in my floor-length mirror. After a long, drawn-out deliberation, this was the dress I'd chosen. A calf-length, A-line dress of emerald green silk. It cut into a halter style at the top and plunged dramatically in the back. I nodded approvingly at my reflection. The dress was, of course, one of my own designs. It was the perfect choice for the talks and TS banquet. It hadn't taken me long to decide. By the time Stella and I had finished our bagels and lox, the decision was made. I would attend. Jordan could be damned for all I cared. I wasn't going to let him prevent me from attending this banquet. It was too good of an opportunity to pass up. Stella had agreed wholeheartedly, and we'd spent the past week ensuring that I chose the perfect dress. If I was going to run into Jordan, I might as well look hot as hell, right? Ping. It was a text from Stella. Good luck. Knock 'em dead. Heart emoji, dancing girl emoji, 4-leaf clover emoji. An hour later, my limo pulled up to the hotel. The banquet was in a ballroom, and my stomach flip-flopped from nerves as I walked through the ornate lobby. I really wish Stella was there for moral support. Things are just easier when you have your bestie beside you. I didn't have time to lament Stella's absence, though. I was on a mission. Rumor had it that the CEO from Finch Fox Holdings were going to be at the banquet. I'd had my eye on this company for a long time. They were very well known and looking to expand their investments, according to the financial papers. I'd also heard that the company would soon be taken over by the CEO's son, a man with an irresistible smile and an unparalleled head for business. But no one knew what he looked like. Some said he was a playboy. Others said he never approached women. But whatever. When he took over as CEO, his first order of business would be to take on new, edgier clients who spoke to a younger generation. That was me in a nutshell. Hot House Flower was all those things. So, I scoured the crowd the moment I set foot into the ballroom. If he was here, as the papers claimed he would be, then I would find him. As I looked, I recognized a lot of very well-known entrepreneurs and CEOs. For a moment, I marveled at the fact that I'd been included in this carefully curated room of powerful people. I smiled to myself and decided to indulge in the TS table. The scent of mouth-watering delectable appetizers was almost too much to ignore. As I walked to the table though, a small commotion broke out. All eyes turned to the front door as a gust of whispers rippled through the room. Sure enough, Jordan emerged, looking as handsome as ever in a traditional tux. My heart almost sank to my knees though when I saw Ellie on his arm. She, too, was ravishing, in a designer, floor-length gown. Jordan seldom took me to work events when we were married. I asked to go, all the time. But he neglected me, opting to leave me at home instead. So yeah, it stung to see him here with Ellie. And it stung even more to see them looking so happy. As the CEO of the company hosted the event, their arrival brought on a stir in the crowd. Jordan and Ellie paused at the door, accepting the mass greeting from the ballroom. But as Jordan smiled and nodded, his eyes fell on mine. He cocked his head to the side, a quizzical expression on his face. He clearly hadn't expected to see me at his company's event. I turned away. My cheeks burned. He and Ellie looked so good together. For all intents and purposes, they looked like a happy couple. Not like the backstabbing betrayers they both were. I really didn't want to talk to either of them. I had other things to do. However, Jordan made a beeline straight for me. Cassandra, you look stunning, Jordan said. I was taken aback by the compliment. Thank you, I said, uncertain of its sincerity. I didn't know you'd be here. But as you can see, I'm afraid I already have a date. Wait. What? He looked at me smugly, pulling in Ellie close to his side. For a moment, I was confused. But then realization dawned on me. He thought I was here to be his date? That I was here to reconcile? Was there no limit to his arrogance? Any disappointment I'd felt at seeing Jordan with Ellie was quickly replaced with anger. He actually thought that I'd just show up here, at this banquet, as some desperate attempt to win him back. Jordan, I smiled politely. I was going to call you tomorrow morning, but since I have your attention right now, I was wondering, when do you plan to sign the divorce papers? He blinked, shocked by my response. Yeah, that's right, I said to myself. I didn't come here for you. But before he could respond, we were bombarded by a group of people. They all introduced themselves to Jordan, and he politely shook their hands. And this must be the missus, one of the women said, reaching out her hand to Ellie. Ellie smiled smugly. She enjoyed being mistaken for Jordan's wife. However, to my surprise, Jordan was quick to correct the woman. No, I'm afraid you're mistaken. This is not my wife. She is, he said, pointing at me. Cassandra's POV. I felt everyone's eyes fall on me. None of them recognized me because I never accompanied Jordan to any events. As such, I'd been completely out of the public eye during our marriage. I'd never really been identified as his wife. Ellie's eyes narrowed and looked at me, a malicious expression on her face. Oh, beg your pardon, the woman said, withdrawing her hand from Ellie. I saw the looks of confusion pass through them. If I was his wife, then why had he entered with Ellie on his arm? I wouldn't really call myself his wife, I smiled politely. Not anymore. We're in the midst of a divorce. I shot Jordan a look that said, how dare you do that to me? Everyone nodded, relieved that the mistaken identity had been a minor mishap. Jordan, however, was angry. Why are you here, Cassandra? He asked, his eyes fixed on me. I balked. Was he really going to do this? Was he really going to make a scene in front of all these people? The group of people uncomfortably averted their eyes. Why, for the appetizers, of course, I smiled brightly. Isn't that why we're all here? I winked at the group. When they realized I was telling a joke, they all began laughing, grateful that Jordan and I weren't about to have a go at it after all. I don't believe we've met, I said to the group. I work for a fashion design company called Hot House Flower. Perhaps you've heard of it? Oh yes, one of the women gushed. I was being modest, of course. Hot House Flower was very popular and I knew it. Are you the CEO? Someone asked. Afraid not, I said, reaching into my purse for some business cards. But I work directly for one of the founders, Stella LeBlanc. Really? A man asked, stepping forward. I passed him a business card. Stella and I had discussed this beforehand. We were both co-founders of Hot House Flower, but only her information was public. I kept my information and identity private, on account of my marriage to Jordan. I didn't feel like tonight was the right time to reveal that I was a co-founder, and Stella respected my opinion. I'll take a card, one of the women said. I love Hot House Flower designs. So creative. I'll take one, too, someone else said. Before I knew it, I had an even larger group gathered. Word had spread that a representative from Hot House Flower was here, and now people were asking for my business card. I was tickled pink by how popular I was. Jordan, on the other hand, was green with envy. He was never one to share the spotlight. Especially not with me, his soon-to-be ex-wife. Cassandra, Jordan called out, angrily, as I became absorbed by the crowd. But before he could say anything else, Ellie exclaimed. It's Mr. Cameron Stoneworth. A few gasps and all heads turned to the door. Sure enough, Cameron had just entered, looking dapper as usual. I was surprised to see him, but come to think of it, I shouldn't have been. Of course he was here. He had a very high position in our family company, almost the CEO, actually. Although he'd been waiting for me to take over our family company, so that he could concentrate fully on his overseas business. Jordan's expression changed instantly when he heard that Mr. Stoneworth had arrived. From where we were standing, we couldn't see him clearly. "I'll talk to you later," he said, pointing at me. Then he scurried off in the direction of Cameron. I smiled bemusingly. Mr. Stoneworth was, of course, my brother Cameron. Jordan didn't know that, though. I'd hidden the truth about my family and our family. I even fabricated a fake last name until I took Jordan's when we got married. So imagine my surprise when, 2 months into our marriage, I learned that Jordan was obsessed with my family's business. He basically stalked them through articles in the newspaper. He told me time and time again how much he wanted to make a deal with Cameron. But Cameron, agreeing to keep the fact that he was my brother a secret from Jordan, rejected Jordan's business offers. Cameron didn't like Jordan. He never had. But the main reason was that our family company didn't need to work with Jordan's company for now. So no projects from Jordan had ever moved forward. Cameron saw me and moved towards me. He greeted me warmly, reaching out for a hug. But I stopped him. "Please, don't tell people you're my brother," I whispered into his ear. He stopped, and with a puzzled look, said, "Okay." I looked over and saw Jordan glaring at me. "Have you seen the CEO of Finch Fox Holdings?" I asked Cameron, as we sauntered over the appetizer table, "or his son?" Cameron popped an appetizer into his mouth and shook his head. Strange. I was pretty sure he was here somewhere. But I hadn't bumped into him yet. "I'm going to go freshen up," I told Cameron. "Yeah, you should do something about that lipstick," he teased. I nudged him in the ribs and told him to stop it. Always a joker, that one. Then I weaved my way through the crowd to the ladies' room. I was applying my lipstick when I saw Jordan behind me in the mirror. "Seriously?" I asked. "You followed me in here?" I was getting tired of this. Why couldn't he just leave me alone? "Expecting someone?" he asked, staring at me in the mirror. "Like maybe your sugar daddy out there?" "My what?" I asked, turning around to face him. "You mean, Cameron?" "That's exactly who I mean," Jordan said, narrowing his eyes. "I saw you two together out there. Flaunting your relationship." This made me chuckle. Jordan thought I was having an affair with my brother, even though he didn't know Cam was my brother. "What are you laughing at?" I noticed that his expression had turned dark, his eyes, dangerous. I wanted to leave. There was something about the way he was looking at me that I didn't like. I tried to brush past him. "You don't know what you're talking about." But he stopped me as I tried to pass. He grabbed my shoulders, holding me in place. "Don't I?" he asked, his face only inches from mine. "Because from where I stand, it looks like I know exactly what I'm talking about. My wife is cheating on me with another man." "Stop it," I said, trying to get away. But he was too strong. His breath was hot on my face. I let out a holler for help. But he leaned in and silenced me by pressing his lips onto mine for a forceful kiss. Cassandra's POV. I struggled. At first, I really did. His lips pressed into mine and I struggled against him. But then, his lips were warm. Warm and familiar. The lips that I'd kissed so many times before. And despite all my anger, I felt myself unwillingly wanting his kiss. My mind screamed at me, "Push him away." My mind knew better, knew that I shouldn't let this happen. My mind wanted me to run, far away. To stop this kiss immediately. But my body still wanted him. My body always had. So many nights, I'd lay awake in bed, longing for him to touch me, for his lips to kiss my hot flesh. My body wanted this kiss. My mind and my body fought hard. But my body won. I parted my lips and the kiss deepened. I tilted back my head, allowing him to kiss me passionately. It was ironic. I'd always longed for Jordan to kiss me like this. I'd longed for it our entire marriage. Our kisses had been lifeless. Cordial. The kind of kiss you give a friend. He had passion, all right. But this passion, it had been reserved for Ellie and alone. His mouth was so wet. So warm. And the whole thing was so fucking ironic. Finally, he was kissing me with passion. He was kissing me the way I'd always wanted him to do, but he was doing it in the powder room of a banquet, weeks after our divorce. This was everything I'd longed for, everything I'd craved. Why hadn't he given this to me while we were married? His tongue explored my mouth as he pressed his body into mine. I felt the hard bulge between his legs press into my stomach. Jesus, he was hard. He was hard for me. I was turning him on. It gave me great satisfaction to know this. He was hard and I was the reason. I reached around and grasped onto the back of his head. He released his mouth from mine and fervently kissed my neck. It felt so good. It felt so fucking good. It felt. No. My mind caught up then. What the hell was I doing? I pushed him away and wiped my mouth. He stood, breathing deeply, his hair tousled. What the hell, Jordan, I said, my voice still husky. His eyes were full of lust. He leaned in for another kiss. But this time. Smack. I slapped him hard across the face. Why are you doing this? I asked, confused. This made no sense. He never kissed me like that. So why now? Is it because of him? Jordan asked. Because of Cameron. Is what because of him? I asked. Is that why you want a divorce? That again? I chortled. Really? Is that why he was doing this? Out of jealousy? Because he thought I was having an affair with another man? Was that the only reason? He wanted me because he couldn't have me? Like a jealous little child who coveted someone else's playground toys? Well, too bad. This is ridiculous. This whole thing is nonsense. You were the one who had the affair, remember? How dare you accuse me? Whatever, Jordan scoffed. It's not like I was really cheating. You and I both know, our marriage was a sham from the start. Ouch. That hurt. It was the truth, but hearing him acknowledge it like that, it hurt. Well, if that's the case, then just sign the bloody divorce papers so we can both be done with it. It's not that simple, he countered. Then enlighten me, I said. I was tired of having the same conversation over and over again. If I had a penny for every time I asked him to sign the divorce papers in the past few days, I'd be rich. Well, richer than I already was. I can't, he told me. Of course you can't, I sighed wearily. How convenient. Look. I'm over this. Sign the papers. If you don't, you'll leave me no choice. We'll have to go to court. You're crazy, Jordan snapped. We can't go through a lawsuit. Do you have any idea what kind of bad publicity that will draw? My company's stocks will plummet. With all due respect, I replied, coldly. That sounds like a you problem. Now, if you'll excuse me. I tried to push past him again, sure that he'd let me go this time. What more was there to talk about? I'd made it crystal clear that I was done with this. The kiss had been an accident. I never should have given in to a hot and heavy kiss like that. I only had because I craved it for so long. But now that it had happened, well. Oops. My mistake, but it would never happen again. How much clearer could I make it? I'd even threatened a lawsuit. But no. He just couldn't let me go. He grabbed my hand and tugged hard, pulling me towards him. Let me go, I hissed, looking down at where he held my hand. No, he said. I tried to shake him off, but he held on tightly. So I swung my hand back at him. It hit him in the shoulder, but he refused to let go. I hit again, across his face this time. I mean it, I said. Let me go. He refused again, but we were both interrupted by a loud voice. It reverberated through the powder room. Release her, the voice said. I couldn't see who it was, but the voice was familiar. Was it the man I thought it was? But how? Did I hear